I think one of the things I'm interested in is like, I started off by naming some of the symptoms that people might experience if they have thyroid issues, things like weight gain, hair loss, fatigue. Those are also just kind of very general things that people could experience. So if I'm listening to that and I'm like weight gain, fatigue, hair loss, I might be experiencing that, but how the heck do I know if it's from a thyroid issue or something else? Like, how does somebody know, maybe without getting tested and then with getting tested, whether or not they have thyroid issues?
Well, there's no definitive way without getting tested, but it's more suspicious if there's a certain timing to those symptoms. If there's symptoms that seem to come on after a point in time you could point to, that's a little more suspicious. And funny thing, some studies quantified symptoms both in a static and a dynamic way, meaning weight gain or more weight gain. And the distinction is that some people have glitches they've struggled with forever. And yeah, a zillion things could cause that. But if this is something that, yeah, I used to work out well and eat well, but ever since last November, now it's just going up and my normal stuff isn't working. That's more of a red flag. So a little more nuance to that for sure. And then also we think about the symptoms. There's symptoms that can be present, but then we often wonder, but what if I don't have that symptom? Like you mentioned the top three, they're just classic top three. And most people don't have all three. It's kind of odd, but there's about a dozen really big symptoms, and most people statistically have between 1 and 3 of those dozen symptoms. So a lot of folks hear this and they think, yeah, my weight is fine. It can't be my thyroid. It must be something else. And that's not how it works. I imagine
Mm.
like a deck of 12 cards, everybody gets dealt a couple cards, but you don't get all of them.
If some of the causes is genetic, obviously some of the other causes, lifestyle and things like that, at what point, at what age do people usually start to experience thyroid issues? And like, what's the thing that they've done repeatedly that has ended up leading to that?
Yeah, awesome question. So like some things, it's just more common with age, so each decade in life, but there's a real high rate of it getting much more common at times of hormonal change. Now, both genders get thyroid disease. There's tons of guys out there with thyroid disease, but it's about 6 to 10 times more common in women. And it seems that there's some interplay between estrogen and thyroid metabolism. And also some of the genes are more apt to be X-linked. As guys, we got one X chromosome, women have two. So they get twice the odds that way. So yeah, so it can come on at any time, but entering into perimenopause or menopause, that's a real big time for that. Before, after pregnancy is a big one as well. So those are some of the most suspicious windows.
And so with that being said, if I'm listening to this and I know that those are suspicious windows, are there things that I can do leading into those times that I can help to prevent thyroid issues from occurring?
It's a funny thing, but there have been so many studies about the causes of thyroid disease. And one of the recent ones delineated more than 400 different things that may contribute to the disease. But when they wrapped it all up, they said there's basically, 4 factors. There's age, genetics, gender, and iodine. Now, if you think that through, age, genetics, and gender, you can't do much about those three.
Right,
So
right.
that leaves us here. Now, I talked about micronutrients. Selenium is a special one in that category. And the reason selenium is special is because it helps our iodine buffering. So the extent to which we've got a window of iodine tolerance, if we're low on selenium, that window is even narrower. So the two biggest things we can do if we're concerned about that or suspecting it of a family history are avoiding just the overload ridiculous sources of iodine and making sure we're doing well on our selenium intake.
Mm. So is it usually an overconsumption of iodine that's causing the issues? Is that what I think that's what you had said previously?
It's a funny thing. If we're talking about changing our historical context or our geographic context, if we went back to prior 1992 and prior, there was 112 countries on the earth categorized as severely iodine deficient. US was not one of those. By 2014, that number went down to 0, but there's now 53 countries categorized as at risk for thyroid disease due to iodine excess. So iodine
Wow.
deficiency does happen. It's not that it's an impossible thing, but as far as documented cases in America, we've had 6 in the last 40 years. So it's pretty dang rare. And then in terms of iodine excess, studies have shown that per age, gender, demographic, about 30 to 40% of the population is at an iodine intake that can be a problem for those genetically prone to thyroid disease.